Now, with those results in for Japan's upper house election, let's discuss what this means for Japan going forward as well as for Seoul-Tokyo relations. For more on this, we have Professor Eun-jung of Kongju National University with us this morning. Professor, thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So let's start with the basics about the election. What were the central issues that drove voters' behavior in this election? How did the candidates frame their positions on those concerns leading up to the election day?
Let me highlight 3 points, probably. Number 1 point is we need to just call back our memories, all this so-called corruption issues of LDP, all this money issue, money scandal, party ticket issue. It erupted end of the 2023. It actually contributed to the end of former Prime Minister, again, the Kishida's administration was ended up with this very, controversial issues, again, which is related to the so-called corruption issue of the LDP, the ruling party. But it was never actually solved clearly from Japanese people's point of view. And Prime Minister Ichiba, the current, again, the sitting Prime Minister, he also did have some, even though it was a relatively speaking minor issue compared to the earlier those scandal, especially of the Abe faction. However, still, again, the LDP couldn't just clear up all this, again, the money corruption related issues, which really, I think, caused a big anger, a backlash from the Japanese people. So that's number 1 point. And number 2 is absolutely economy. Japan, of course, is not the only one who is suffering and struggling with the inflation. Even, of course, South Korea or any part of the world is basically fighting with the this inflation issue, which of course was COVID-19 pandemic was not the only cause. However, the pandemic was a big cause, and many countries are fighting with the inflation. So as long as, again, the inflation is really hitting, damaging the every ordinary people's lives, again, the ruling party needed to, again, suggest more, again, tangible, constructive solution for that. However, I think the ruling party, they couldn't make it. And on the other hand, those, a relatively minor party, they suggested, for example, reducing tax issues, or expanding the welfare issue. So economy, I think, was another like a very big point for the Japanese voter. Number 3 point, very quickly, again, the so-called anti-globalism, which is, I think, deeply related to economic concerns. This, again, hit many countries in the world, and Japan was not the exception. That is why I think, for example, especially the Sanseto, which was a minor party, but this time they really showed a big jump. So Sanseto, like a pretty right wing party, they just stimulated those kind of the concerns among the public, again, anti-globalism, anti-elitism, as it can be more like related to the xenophobia as well. So those 3 points I wanted to highlight.
Right, Professor. So you've touched on a number of aspects, but with that in mind, what does the outcome now of this election suggest about the direction now that Japan is heading, both politically and economically, in the coming months?
Well, we'll see, because the sitting prime minister, again, the Ichiba Shigeru, he said that he and his party does have a responsibility for the nation, and he wants to just complete is that responsibility, political responsibility, that indicates that, again, he doesn't want to, again, to come down from the prime minister position. However, as long as, again, the LDP and slash Komeito, the former, those ruling coalition lost the majority, both houses, in both houses, lower and upper. And if so, they need to have another like a kind of realignment. Of course, Japanese, those opposition sides are pretty much fragmented. There is no really single one party who can comprehend every opposition party. So that is why we need to take a look into, how sustainable the Prime Minister Ishiba's position can be within the coming months. However, certainly, I want to really highlight this. Again, as I mentioned earlier, Sanseto, like minority party, they just showed a big victory that indicates that, again, as I mentioned, again, the many Japanese probably voters are very much unsatisfied with the way how the former ruling coalition, again LDP slash Komeito, has been doing regarding any issue, political corruption issue, or like inflation, like economic issues, or even national identity slash the foreign and defense policy as well. So Sanseto like party, they argue that Japan needs to rethink the rules and norms and value and order they have been adhered to ever since the defeat of the World War II, Pacific War. Again, this year is the very important year for anyone, probably 2025 for Korea as well. It's the 80th anniversary of our liberation, which means it's the 80th anniversary for them, again, the defeat of the Pacific War. So they probably trying to, I think, Japanese society is now really trying to rethink about the future of the Japan and the conventional wisdom they have been sticking to for the last 8 decades, I think.
Right, and speaking of rethinking after 80 years, now I want to narrow it down to Korea-Japan relationship. How might this election result influence the bilateral relationship, especially as the two leaders were making efforts to strengthen bilateral cooperation?
Sure. Overall, more consequently speaking, I remain pretty much optimistic about the bilateral relation or even trilateral cooperation among U.S., Korea, and Japan. The reason why I'm saying so is, again, look at the word. The 2 wars or more wars are going on. Again, the situations in Europe is not good, and situations in Middle East is even worse. So having had these two, again, the conflicts in the 2 regions, again, it's really difficult to deal with all this, defense issue. And additionally, we have now way development in the military technology. For example, cyber issues or like drone attacks. So we do see many of those unconventional threats we have never seen before. So we need to deal with this non-conventional, new emerging threat as well. And of course, challenges from China, technologically, economically, and even politically, is not simple at all. So having had all this, conflicts and threats and challenges surrounding us, I think, again, the bilateral relationship will remain pretty much, again, the cooperative. However, at the same time, we need to be probably careful with the more like volatile issue, which related to the national identity of each country or their interpretation about their history. So again, the August 15 is a big day. I mean, for both countries. Again, I think we need to be careful about the coming, again, the months.
Right, Professor. Thank you so much for your insights. I'm afraid that's all the time we have, and we hope to speak to you again soon.
Thank you.